Hi, I'm Demory. My novella, They Ask What Happened, explores ways of representing post-traumatic stress disorder in fiction. Work that allows readers to understand aspects of someone else's experience are important in creating understanding between actual trauma survivors and their loved ones. By braiding three timelines together and using a first-person, unreliable narrator, the piece illustrates how remembering and retelling trauma compounds the fear, confusion, and distrust the survivor experiences. Beyond the recollection of the incident, the piece explores how trauma recolors memories, creates barriers in relationships, and reemerges through details one wouldn't naturally link to the incident. This first excerpt is from the beginning, when the narrator is reflecting on the so far unspecified incident and how it's changed her perceptions. Fact: the first stage of hypoxia is called acute mountain sickness. As the altitude increased, so did the pressure to succeed. I don't mean to blame the altitude for everything that happened. Any climber with half her rope knows her decision-making will fail at high altitudes. As I trained, I kept the shape of the summit in my mind. I imagined the surreal sense of accomplishment that would come with the solitary view of nothing but snow. I fantasized about who I would be when I came back down and how I would casually bring up my adventure in conversation. I couldn't wait to find new opportunities to talk about the history of India, the culture of the Sherpa, the stamina it takes to push your body and spirit up the mountain. Now that the climbing is done, the shadow of the summit follows me. I feel as though I haven't climbed onto Devi at all, and I feel as though I'll never get down. My life is a repeated instance of that moment when a hiker realizes she's strayed from the path, but can't recall when or where the misstep occurred. In my dreams, I'm still up there. Some days, I wake up and the memory of the mountain feels as vague as one of my many dreams that preceded the trek. Some days, I wake up cold and sweating, shocked to find I'm in a warm bed and not a claustrophobic tent. Every day, I wake up. And for what? This next excerpt takes place when the narrator is being questioned about the event in the weeks that follow. Fact: I wasn't in control. The 8,000er began another day of questions, asking how I've been sleeping. When he had asked before, it had felt like a leading question. I heard the imaginary jury hold their breath, but I didn't know what response would lead me into the trap. When he asked again, it felt offhand, an obligatory ask without concern for the answer. I started to cry. He hadn't been paying much attention, but he suddenly looked up from what I was pretty sure were just doodles in his notepad. He looked uncomfortable. I'm sorry, I wiped my tears on the sleeve of my t-shirt. I don't mean to cry, it's just... My sentence broke off as my breathing became more erratic. I wasn't calming down. Why wasn't I calming down? It's just been a lot. Hey, that's okay. He did his best to comfort me. If I wasn't so distraught, his meager effort would have been comedic. I put my head down on the table. I couldn't catch my breath. Inhale, inhale, inhale. I could never get enough air in to let any out. I don't know why I'm crying, I finally managed to say. I felt a light pressure on the back of my head. I peered out from my folded arms on the table to see his arm outstretched. Pat, pat, pat. He was, I think, doing his best. It helped only in that the absurdity of the movement distracted me momentarily. He cleared his throat. It's okay, he said. It's just a physical reaction. Think of it, I don't know, like running sprints. You exhausted yourself with emotional sprints, right? Now you need air. Deep inhale, come on. Reluctantly, I followed his instructions. And you're not going to believe this, you have to exhale too. Despite myself, I laughed, blowing out all the air. This last excerpt is of the narrator finally returning home after the incident. On that first night back, my husband talked the entire car ride to the pizza restaurant and home. He told me about his work, our friends, how the plants in our windowsill were doing. I wanted to care, but I didn't. Why did it matter if the basil plant had died? Did it freeze to death alone? Did all its friends have to choose to leave it behind? No. I said, that's okay, we can get another. He looked at me and tried to suppress a wide grin. I already did. Stepping into what used to be my home felt like returning to high school after a few years of college. Foreign, somehow wrong, somehow funny. Can you believe we used to think this was hard? You won't say it to your high school friends as you wander to campus, but you can barely believe you all had been so close. You want to say, can you believe we thought this mattered? Can we believe we used to have so much in common? You're strangers to me now. We used to spend every day together. You don't say those things. You act like you still have things in common. The alternative is to be alone every time you return home. And you hate being alone. Chris looked as foreign in the space as I felt. I realized it was hard for him too. I tried to keep that in mind, but I couldn't. Thank you.